Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Midwest Prairie Summer Service Co-op for 2021. As our congregations begin planning to reopen in-person gatherings this fall after our long pandemic separation, we take this opportunity for a series of virtual visits with some of our neighboring UU churches over the summer weeks. Each Sunday, you are invited to experience inspirational messages from a variety of our ministers, together with music and other elements that make our communities special. We hope that this morning's service will engage your thoughts and lift your spirits, giving you courage to make a difference in the world and helping to strengthen the connections that sustain us all.
Good morning to everyone in virtual attendance. Welcome to the Unitarian Congregation of Lawrence, this too darn hot yet lovely summer Kansas morning. I'm Jonathan Andrews. My pronouns are he, him. We're glad you chose to spend some time with us today. We greet our fellow Unitarian Universalists from far and wide. Hi, Don. Hi, Vicki. Everybody else in Topeka. And we warmly welcome all who are visiting today, maybe even checking out our faith for the very first time. We're happy to share this space and connection with you as we come together in the spirit of love.
I'm Shada Jahanbani. My pronouns are she, her. And I add my welcome to Jonathan's. I am especially pleased to be coming to you from this beautiful sanctuary. This is the first time I've been here in a very long time. Of course, as I stand here and look out at the empty seats, it is easy for me, and perhaps for you, to dwell on what I am missing in this room. The faces and voices of my beloved friends, the ease and comfort of before times, the safety of what I knew to be normal. I can shine a light on that suffering, and it is, the eminently wise Buddhist master Thich Nhat Hanh reminds us, important to do so. But he also reminds us that without that suffering, we cannot know what the Buddha called the cessation of suffering. Without sadness, we could not know happiness. Without the mud, the lotus flower could never grow. Today we're going to dwell on this relationship between suffering and happiness, between mud and lotus, because we are in an in-between kind of time, and awareness is, as the Buddha taught, the first step towards a new freedom. So I invite you to take your shoes off and let your toes squish around in this metaphorical mud for a spell and see what beauty blooms around you.
My name is Susan Harper, and my pronouns are she, her. I am honored to be the music director here at UUCL, and I warmly invite you to sing along with us as we all sing our opening hymn, For All That Is Our Life.
For all that is our life, we sing our thanks and praise. For all life is a gift, which we are called to use, to build the common good, and make our own days glad. For needs which others serve, for services we give, for work and its rewards, for hours of rest and love, we come with praise and thanks. For all that is our life, for sorrow we must bear, for failures, pain, and loss, for each new thing we learn, for fearful hours that pass, we come with praise and thanks. For all that is our life, for all that is our life, we sing our thanks and praise. For all life is a gift, which we are called to use, to build the common good, and make our own days glad.
Hello, I'm Zella Jahanbani, and my pronouns are she, her. Our child sliding today comes from Thich Nhat Hanh. According to the creation story in the biblical book of Genesis, God said, "Let there be light." I like to imagine that light replied saying, "God, I have to wait for my twin brother, darkness, to be with me." God asked, "Why do you need to wait? Darkness is there." Light answered, "In that case, then I am also already there." If you have a chalice or candle at home, we invite you to light it. Right. Please join us in our congregation's chalice lighting affirmation. We light this chalice for love, hope, and peace.
Hello, I'm Erin Grant, here with my son Henry. Our pronouns are she, her, and he, him. Ours is a sharing community where our joys are amplified, a caring community where our sorrows are lessened. Khalil Gibran wrote, "Some of you say joy is greater than sorrow, and others say, nay, sorrow is greater. But I say unto you, they are inseparable. Together they come, and when one sits alone with you at your board, remember that the other is asleep upon your bed. Verily, you are suspended like scales between your sorrow and your joy. Only when you are empty are you at a standstill and balance." Let us take this moment to reflect on our joys and sorrows, acknowledging that through sharing and with the support of our community, we may come closer to reaching a sense of balance that may bring peace to our lives. As you feel comfortable, we welcome you to share the joys that are making your heart sing. You may also share the sorrows that are bringing you down. You are welcome to share with your beloveds words of empathy and care that may help them endure life's journey.
By sharing our joys and sorrows, we build community. We are so grateful for your willingness to share and engage in this important part of our UU tradition. We welcome you to put Zoom on participant mode and give one another a sign of compassion visually. With a hand over your heart, with your hand shaped like a heart, or a long distance hug.
I'm Reverend Shelley Page, and my pronouns are she and her, and I add my warm welcome to all of you across the country who are joining us this morning. I invite you to a time of some quiet contemplation this morning in a little different way. Please join me on a special journey to Baker Wetlands, a nature preserve here in Lawrence.
Here at Baker Wetlands, it's a land of enchantment. And I'd like to just share a bit with you today about the experience of being here and about the experience of simply being. Because in a lot of ways, that's what Baker asks us to do. So let's just enter this little blind that I actually consider to be my personal little meditation hut. As you can see, there's different windows, each affording a different view. And then what's magical is to come over and just take in the scene, to appreciate all these American lotus blooming and noticing things like the muskrat highway that's carved in the midst. How do I know it's a muskrat highway? Because I've been here and observed them over and over again, traveling that path. And yet another view. And sometimes you even get closer views, if you want, closer and closer and closer. It's a wonderful place to just be, to just look out and consider the beauty of the earth, but also the wabi-sabiness of the earth. For example, let's look down at lily pads that aren't perfect anymore. Lily pads, much like ourselves, really imperfect. But then let's also savor just the marvelous, marvelous gorgeousness all around. And usually while I'm here, it's not uncommon for there to be some additional things to see, like herons, all kinds of herons, other wading birds, sometimes ibis, sometimes egrets, and geese and ducks at other times of the year. And I'm always reminded too of the mud from whence these gorgeous plants have emerged. It's just below the surface of this pretty shallow water. The shallow water that's teeming with life. So, just invite you to a moment of stillness with me. A moment of finding a still spot within yourself where you see all that is your life and feel gratitude for all of it, every bit of it, without question, without judgment, just noticing and holding it all as a precious whole, a whole that's absolutely sacred. Notice, savor, appreciate. Just feel the stillness. Feel everything you need to be feeling today. Holding it. And as you're holding all that is your life, and you're looking and feeling and considering and breathing, consider and remember not only your life as precious and sacred, but all of creation, all of your loved ones, all people, people you know, people you will never know, people with whom we are interdependent, this earth with which we are interdependent, inextricably linked in this marvelous, marvelous dance of love as we notice in this very near spot, this very near, beautiful place, a beautiful place in our hearts, a beautiful place for all that's been preserved here in Lawrence, Kansas. And so, holding all, loving all, appreciating all, may you know this love extends to you in every way, every day. Blessed be. Amen. Shalom. Salam. Shanti.
Hi, my name is Izzy Ball. My pronouns are she and her. And here is a question. Why do UUs have an offering? Because UUs stand for equal rights and are a loving community, we feel it is important to care for people in our community and our world.
Thank you, Zizi. Good morning. My name is Barbara Thompson, and my pronouns are she and her. I serve as one of the worship associates in our congregation. As we come to the offering in our service today, I would like to share a quotation from Winston Churchill that has long held meaning for me. We make a living by what we get, but we make a life by what we give. UU theologian James Luther Adams described the offering during a Sunday service as a sacrament of the free church, because it is an act that says who we are and in what we believe. Congregations make the decision about how the money collected is spent to live our missions, including supporting others beyond our walls in the spirit of love and justice. Thus, the offering functions as a ritual that Unitarian Universalists use to transform the world and to transform ourselves. To quote UU World, the offering is a time for us to come together, to become a part of something greater than ourselves. It is a moment of transformation, interconnection, and UU identity. It is within this spirit that I invite you each to experience the joy of giving today and know that it is gratefully received.
It is our congregation's tradition to offer thanks and to acknowledge the reciprocity of giving and receiving in our intentional spiritual community. Please join us in singing "From You I Receive."
From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live.
I am small, but I have a big job to do. I guess all seeds do. I fell here into the soft, squishy mud on the shores of a quiet pond. The mud is so much more than the word conjures up. There's this itchy, scratchy rock here with me and shiny minerals. The sticky clay is the worst and is the most uncomfortable. All around me lay the rotted, discarded leaves of my ancestors and some of the other plants that share the water in its shore. There are also long dead fish and insects and skeletons that help nourish me here in the dark. I can't see much, but I can hear the whispered movements of the water. The waters speak of my ancestors, going back millions of years. They tell me that me and mine are strong and we can withstand everything. The words of the water encourage me to crack open just a little and push my newly growing roots down into the dark soil. It's hard work. And down here it's so dark. I'm tempted to stay asleep. Sometimes I see flashes of light above my head, and it makes me so curious. I want to see what it is, and I want to see it so much that it has become beyond desire. The fish that swim above me sometimes come down and try to nibble at me, but I'm safe here in the mud of my pond. I squirm and I wiggle till my roots go down deep. I feel a pressure in my head, and one day it cracks open. I feel the growth going upwards even as my roots dig down. The water feeds me and encourages me to keep going towards the light above. Every day as I grow up towards the surface, the light becomes brighter and brighter till one day I reach the top of the water and I am greeted by so much music. I hear the water hit the shore in such a lovely and different way from the surface. And there are birds. I never knew about birds before. I send out my leaves for the first time and I feel a sudden urge of energy as the bright sunlight warms me. The fish now swim under my leaves because they like to hide there and the shade that I provide cools them. At night, when the sun goes down, I feel small padded feet climb onto my now very broad leaves. And it's new music. Croak, croak. The frogs sing to each other, and the cicadas and the birds cry from the trees. Love is in the air. Their songs make me happy, and I want to give something to them as thanks for the beautiful music. What better way to celebrate the love of my singers than to provide something beautiful? It's time. Time to set my petals free. From the energy the sun gave me and the food from the soil down at my feet, I create a flower. The flower starts out small and tight in its little bud, but it opens in the heat of the sunlight. And now I have new friends, dragonflies and butterflies, and so many tiny insects love my leaves and especially the flowers I have made. They sing to me about how wonderful it smells. Mine is not the only flower. Nearby, there are purple ones, yellow ones, pink and orange. My fellow lotus here in the lake or in the pond are giving flowers to our neighbors as well. We're giving to each other as well, but with a little help from the flying insects. Soon the petals on my flower begin to dry out and fall off. My flower loses its color. I can feel something growing inside of it, something small, something hard and round. The last petal falls, and now I know. Inside was seeds, small, dark seeds that look just like I once did. One day they fall into the water, plop, plop, and deep down into the mud they sink. Soon, they too will feel the crack of their roots going down into the dark, complex mud. The water will sing to them about their ancestors. and I will join in the water song as they do their big job.
The lotus is the most beautiful flower, whose petals open one by one, but it will only grow in the mud. In order to grow and gain wisdom, first you must have the mud, the obstacles of life and its suffering. The mud speaks of the common ground that humans share, no matter what our stations in life. Whether we have it all or we have nothing, we are all faced with the same obstacles: sadness, loss, illness, dying, and death. In order to strive as human beings to gain more wisdom, more kindness, and more compassion, we must have the intention to grow as a lotus and open each petal one by one. As told to Goldie Hawn by the Venerable Thupten Nagadro.
You've probably guessed by now that I'm a pretty big fan of that amazing lotus pond here in Lawrence. How blessed am I to have such beauty and wonder just a few minutes from my home. How blessed am I to have that sacred space close at hand. I've lived in Lawrence for about a year now, and I've had the chance to observe that pond in all the seasons at Baker Wetlands. The season of mud, the season of emerging growth, the season of the full flowering, and the season of decay, as the lotus pods release their seeds as they drop into the murky waters and down into that mucky mud. A cycle completed, a cycle that has deeply nourished my spirit in this past pandemic year. Now, you know, we ministers, we often speak about the importance of engaging in spiritual practice, taking time to intentionally slow down and contemplate, giving our inner wisdom a chance to speak to us, offering us insight, comfort, perspective, and hope. Now, some folks find a particular practice like yoga or perhaps a special prayer or meditation that works for them. And they do it, they stick with it every day for years on end. And then there's some of us who have a more eclectic set of practices, a menu of possibilities that changes over time. You're guessing right, that would be me. After all, there's not one true path or right way when it comes to spiritual practice, and I know you know that. An unexpected gift of this pandemic for me was to discover the power of repeatedly revisiting the same places in some close to home nature preserves. The Lotus Pond was one of those spots as I experienced its wonders, mysteries, and beauty at stunning sunset, early morning fog, and full-on blazing afternoon sun, in wintry cold, autumn splendor, spring hopefulness, and summer humidity so thick you could drink it. It's a place where I go to slow down, to pay attention and just be, seeing the place in its utter fullness. The mud and the lotus, the full cycle of life there in that sacred little pocket of fabulousness, a microcosm of our big, wide, sacred universe, an embodiment of all that is, a place of constant change, of birth, death, and rebirth. So, yeah, it's easy to fall in love with this pond when it is brimming with fully opened, gorgeous lotus flowers, adorable frogs lounging on their lily pads, and graceful egrets gliding overhead. And I learned over time to appreciate the nodding, dull, brown lotus pods dropping their seeds. The messy, and I mean messy, detritus of leaves and pods and stalks sticking up into the ooze, and the expanse of mud and shallow, murky, icy water that is the realm of muskrats and wading shorebirds as spring comes on. That deep immersion into the world of this pond opened my heart over and over again as I remembered the simple mantra of no mud, no lotus. No mud, no lotus. The revered Buddhist teacher and leader Thich Nhat Hanh reminds us that looking deeply into the heart of suffering is essential for our spiritual growth. Looking at the mud, taking the intentional time to really look at it, really feel it, really contemplate it, not just quickly glancing at it and looking away as if it's not there. Nothing to see here. Really sitting with it, with its messy fullness, feeling the prickles, the unease, the pain. In this pandemic time, there's been plenty of mud in our lives, don't you think? I know I felt that way, and I imagine you have too. We've each felt it in our own ways. Some of this mud is deeply personal, feeling isolated, frustrated, depressed, overwhelmed, experiencing deep grief over loss, over lost loved ones, our changed circumstances, too much time alone or too much together time. And this layer, this new layer of mud, was plopped on top of all of our pre-existing personal muds, making our lives even more challenging. And we're also dealing with the wider and deeper mud of humanity, the mud of racism and other oppressions, the mud of climate change consequences that we're all feeling right now, the mud of late-stage capitalism, hello Jeff Bezos, the mud of colonialism, the mud of societal polarization and creeping authoritarianism. That's a lot of mud. A lot of mud. And it'd be easy to just wallow in it, get lost, stuck in the ooze, feeling forever stuck. And sometimes I think 2021 can feel that way. But there's a difference. Being with the mud means going deeper into your understanding and not getting stuck in it. It means slowing down enough to access the feelings behind the feelings, the fear, the anger, the resentment, the jealousy, the profound grief at all that's been lost. That messy, muddy vulnerability at the heart of each of us. And then pausing to notice, accept, offering yourself the deepest compassion. You have been through a lot. Hold that. Feel the deep truth of that. Yeah. Then think of your dearest loved ones, your neighbors, your colleagues, your whole community, your region, our nation, our planet, in ever-widening circles of compassion. Every single person on this earth has been touched by this pandemic, on top of whatever else was going on for them and around them in our wider cultures. They have been through a lot too. Hold that. Feel the deep truth of that. I can only speak from my own experience about being with this mud in this pandemic time. The gift of spending that precious time in nature, of slowing down to notice and accept and hold myself in deep compassion in the midst of my own mud, has offered me fresh perspective and a sense of possibility. When I hold myself in great compassion and see my own suffering for what it is, then I can more easily recognize the suffering of others and hold them in compassion as well. It's not about taking on the weight of the world, although there can be moments of it feeling that way these days. But rather, it's about holding the world more gently, recognizing the muddy vulnerability of everyone else around me. It's catching myself more readily when I feel a rush to judgment in frustration or anger, just as I see the inherent worth and dignity of each person, I also see the inherent mud and vulnerability of each one. So here's where I see that lotus flower emerging from the mud, propelled upward by intentional compassion. I like to think of the lotus flower as loving kindness, the Buddhist aspiration that genuinely wishes others well, that they be happy and thrive. As we were reminded in Brian's reading, the lotus petals open one by one, one by one. I imagine each petal as an attribute of loving kindness, a petal for gentleness, a petal for truth-telling, a petal for accountability, a petal for patience, a petal for gratitude, a petal for apology and forgiveness, a petal for letting go of perfection, a petal for compromise and taking turns, a petal for deep listening, another for spreading joy, and yet another for drawing the circle wide where all means all, and we really mean all means all. I'm sure you can name other petals as you contemplate loving kindness as a fully formed, gorgeous lotus flower. Now, my sense is that we each have this capacity to embody the lotus flower, to practice loving kindness, especially as we continue on this pandemic journey together. I have no personal illusion about becoming a fully open, gorgeous lotus of loving kindness. That's an aspiration with a capital A, just saying. But I can nurture those petals one by one, one by one, calling them to mind when I'm tired, crabby, judgy, upset, frustrated, and feeling very stuck in the mud of this pandemic life. We don't know where this pandemic journey's going and where it's going to take us. We're still on the road with this one. But being gentle with each other in the days to come will make all the difference for our closest relationships and how we move into the future as intentional communities of faith. Our congregations offer a lovely learning lab for deepening our understanding and practice of compassion and loving kindness. Even the most vibrant congregations have some mud going on because humans, we are great mud makers. We're all in this liminal, muddy time when this pandemic is not yet over. And some who are fully vaccinated are anxious and excited to regather. And others are understandably cautious and concerned, not ready yet. There's bound to be some frustrations and misunderstandings, perhaps even some anger flaring on the horizon. I'm wondering how we can use this time to intentionally learn more about love, our core Unitarian Universalist value, acknowledging our very real individual and collective mud, and encouraging the flourishing of these lotus petals of loving kindness. For it is deep, abiding, multi-petaled love that will get us through this pandemic, climate change, and all the other muddy challenges ahead. I don't have a prescription to offer you, but rather an invitation to pursue the path of compassion and love in the days to come. May both the mud and the lotus, grace your life with rich gifts of insight, wisdom, and yes, love. For the deepest truth is that all you need is love. May it be so. Blessed be.
We joyfully invite you to sing along with our amazing musicians who have lovingly created their special rendition of All You Need Is Love. And before you ask, yes, we have the license to allow us to do this.
It's easy. All you need is love. All you need is love. All you need is love. Love. Love is all you need. All you need is love. All you need is love. All you need is love. Love. Love is all you need. All you need is love. All together now. All you need is love. Everybody. All you need is love. Love. Love is all you need. All you need is love. All you need is love. All you need is love. Love is all you need.
In the words of the Buddhist meditation adapted in our hymnal by Mark Hayes, may we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be peaceful and at ease. May we be whole. And may we remember no mud, no lotus. Blessings for the journey.
Here in Lawrence, we have enjoyed singing this benediction together for many years. We offer you a glimpse of our gathered community and invite you to sing along with us as we end our time together in peace and in love today. Blessings.
We have spent time together, and these holy moments give us strength to go down the winding road until we meet again. We have spent time together, and these holy moments give us strength to go down the winding road until we meet again. And my prayer for you is a peace that's true until we